On the next episode of the Level Power Podcast, I speak with Tony Deer. Tony is a journalist, and he also just featured Level Par in Links Magazine as a book to watch in 2026. Tony and I spoke about his writing career, what he's passionate about when it comes to golf, and all the books that he's published in the most recent one, which you'll hear about in the episode. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did.
So you're a writer, I'm a writer, and it's just great to kind of connect with somebody who's also in the space. So thank you so much for coming on.
It's my pleasure, Tom. Thank you for having me.
I want to start with your writing career. I mean, you've been with Links Magazine for how long now, but you've also written a book, I believe, in 2015. So it seems like writing and golf have been hand in hand for you for quite a while.
You know, I had an invitation to go back to Liverpool University, you know, when my health and things had sorted out, had gotten back together. But I was offered a job as an assistant pro, and what are you going to do? You know, if you're obsessed with golf. So I went for that, always with the thought that I would go back to university at some point, but I never did. I just carried on writing. Carried on as the assistant pro, and I was loving it. And then ran into those health problems again. By which time it was too late to go back to university. So when I come out of the health stuff, then this was now 97.
Mm-hmm.
I decided that now would be a really good time to start writing, because that was something that I'd always enjoyed doing.
Sure.
In English classes and etc. So I joined a journalism school, went to journalism school, graduated from there, and I'd actually been around the world. I went on a round the world trip for a year by myself in 95, just before starting journalism school. And I played golf all around the world there. That was really quite something. Played some of the best courses in the world, Royal Melbourne and Kingston Heath in Melbourne, and Olympic Club and San Francisco Club in San Francisco. Various places in Africa. And then in 97, after having graduated from the journalism school, I sent out some things I'd written to various editors at golf magazines in Britain, and ended up on 4 magazine.
Oh, very cool. Nice.
In 97, 98. And I should add, whilst this was going on, I'd met an American girl. I actually met her when I was traveling. We met in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And we, you know, cut a long story short, we got married in 1999. And we had a couple of years in England while I was working on the golf magazine. And she was working she's a nurse, so she was working at a hospital in Cambridge. But she's from a very big family. And we decided to come back to the States in end of 2001.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, so that's it's kind of a cool story. Like I had a very similar path to you in journalism. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do, and then I got the journalism degree, and then I met a guy who got me a job at the Boston Herald to just basically cover phones on a Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And from there it was start collecting high school sports like information, writing leads, writing small town stories, to then covering all the major stuff here in Boston. And then my beat for a while was the golf beat here. So similar to you, it sounds like
good time to be in sports.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But it sounds like you just kind of found a passion, went after it, and then figured out ways to use your love of golf to, find avenues to start writing for these places.
Absolutely. I mean, golf was absolutely my number one sport. Although I'd actually played cricket for my county side, which is like my state side. And I was going to have a trial with England.
Oh, really?
So I did okay with that too. I played, football and soccer and rugby and tennis and everything, but golf was my first love. And love to the point of view that this was something that I studied and that I read about and I listened to and I watched, and far more so than soccer or rugby or anything. I was really into the history and the characters in golf. So that's the route I went down. And as I say, in 97, 98, when I started applying for positions or sending myself to editors at Golf magazine in Britain, I had decided by then that was what I wanted to write about and what I wanted to concentrate on.
How many publications have you been published in? Could you even count anymore?
Around the world?
Yeah.
I think it's about 40.
Wow. So have you been freelance like basically your entire career, or have you like had different stops at places and then, just kind of like wrote some stuff and pitch it to other publications around the world?
I was that first magazine for Ferrari. I became a senior editor on that. Having started as a junior writer, junior staff man on four, I then became senior editor and senior editor on Today's Golfer, which was, if you can imagine a big office plan, I think there were 4 golf magazines on this one floor of this office. Okay. There was 4 magazine, Today's Golfer, Golf Weekly, and a trade paper, a golf trade paper. And I moved on to Today's Golfer and was a senior editor there. That's when it's a funny story, Tom. Everyone else in the office was out at lunch one day, but I had some work to finish off, so I was basically alone back in the office. And the phone rang. Oh, sorry, one of my colleagues' phone. Sorry. And I thought I'd better take a message for him, so I picked it up and spoke to a guy, and he said, are you Paul Mahoney? And I said, no, I know I'm a colleague of his. He said, well, you're a golf writer, right? I said, yes. He said, can you write a book? And I said, sure.
About what?
But I think you've called for Paul, so perhaps you should speak with him. He said, no, I need someone now. I mean, we've got 4 weeks to write this and get this done, so I need someone now. So by the end of this phone call, I had committed to write a book, and it was actually for HarperCollins. They had commissioned a company in London to actually produce the book. It was one of those little pocket gems. I don't know if you remember. So I wrote a pocket gem for HarperCollins when I was 23, 24.
Oh, interesting.
But it was a bad experience. I won't go into it. It was a bad experience. But on the back of that, I wrote another book for HarperCollins, actually, because I had some history in the game and had been a teaching pro briefly. I was actually the instruction editor to begin with on the magazine. So I actually wrote so I got to know professionals, a lot of local professionals and more better known professionals by interviewing them, and a lot of photographers. So I actually wrote a instruction book in 96, 97. That was called Good Golf Made Easy.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Which was a bit hopeful because golf is never easy.
No, it's never. But it
kind of
we can make it a lot harder than it should be, but it is never easy for sure.
The easier we can make it, the better we are. But that doesn't come easy.
Yep, agreed.
If you know what I mean.
Agreed. Yep.
So then there was that one, and then I think in 99, maybe 2000, the year before we left for the States, I wrote another one called Every Golf Question You Ever Wanted Answered, which was another get this done in 6 weeks sort of thing.
Yeah. So
I look back and I think the instruction book was quite good, but the other two I just kind of look back and think, I wish I'd known more about the industry. I wish I'd had more experience. So I don't really mention those ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, I think it's also like trial and error, right? Like you're just kind of like,
for sure,
you're trying to just go. I mean, if I think about my early writing, especially at the Herald, like I don't talk about it either. It's like I remember like messing up so many times and just being like, oh boy, this is harder than I thought. But then as you kind of like develop a voice and develop an idea, especially as a journalist, like it's tough to, you can't really like go outside of the facts, right? Like you have to live in the facts, and that's what you are, and that's who you need to continue to be. But when I took a stab at fiction, it was like the freedom to just do whatever I wanted. But I would say that with the instruction book, there was probably a lot more freedoms to, being able to kind of have your knowledge of the game, but also, think about how do I want to package this for somebody who's reading it, who may have never picked up a golf club, but also people who do have an experience in the game that might just want to take their game to the next level. So I'm wondering if you had an experience that you were able to kind of maybe like have more creative license on that project than maybe some of the other ones.
Almost entirely. I kind of directed that whole book really. I chose the photographer, chose the location. We shot it in Turkey actually.
Oh, interesting.
At a course that I'd been on a couple of press trips to courses, new courses down on the southern Turkish coast, and I got on so well with the director of golf at one of them, and the course was so beautiful that I thought, if I can choose where to photograph this book, I'm going there, because I know the photograph's going to look fantastic, because I think the best golf photographer in Britain, without a doubt, worked for the magazine. So I hired him. We went to Turkey, and it was beautiful. And I think the book came out really well, actually.
That's great. The for people listening, where can they still find the book online somewhere? Or is it on Amazon?
That's you can find that on Amazon. Cool. It's called Good Golf Made Easy.
So the book that you I believe you're sending me out a book as well too. Is that the one where you went around the world and talked about the different golf holes? Is that the 2015 project that you did? And I wonder if, like, when you wrote that book, like how much of it was you reliving some of the old, like when you went around the world and played golf at different places, like were you writing it from that kind of lens? Because I'm guessing you just used a lot of your your not, I want to say expertise, but your experiences from traveling and seeing the world and playing golf courses to write this book.
It was kind of like that. I was freelancing living in Washington State and freelancing, and just took a call one day from a publishing company in Brighton, in an hour south of London on the south coast of England, and they were looking for a writer to they knew me, but they were looking basically for a writer. And they said, we have this idea to do a book called the Story of Golf in 50 Holes, where you choose 50 holes that have somehow had some history and shaped the history of the game or are famous or architecturally, whatever, you know, they've appeared on TV, you know, in tournaments, competitions, or people just know them very well.
Mm-hmm.
So they allowed. I said, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So they left me to choose the 50 holes.
Oh,
We
nice.
then you know, discussed it at length and revised the list and came, you know, landed on a list that we were happy with. And it contained a lot of not a lot of courses that I visited while traveling, but certainly some, but mostly courses that I'd you know, seen, you know, on TV. You know,
sure. Yeah.
you know, the 13th, 15th at Augusta, you know, the 18th at Carnoustie, the 17th, the 11th, the 18th at St Andrews. You know,
yeah,
holes that I knew that primarily holes that I loved,
yeah,
holes that interested me, holes that I knew about. Secondly, holes that obviously I hope that the audience would
like understand,
would resonate with an audience.
Yeah.
And I think the third factor was that, you know, there had to be some sort of geographical spread. I mean, they couldn't all be in Scotland. They couldn't all be in America. I think probably 40, 41, 42 were Scotland or Britain or Ireland or the States. But I put a couple in from Australia and a couple from Japan in as well, just to, you know, make it globally more feasible.
Were you so when you were commissioned to do this, were you hearing from courses that they should be involved in this book, or were you like, you just had like a group of folks who were like, we're gonna, it doesn't sound like you ranked them either. It sounded like you just kind of put them in a 50 list and then this is so you know, did you have people reaching out and be like, hey, you need to include this course, or why didn't you put this one in there? Like, what kind of feedback were you getting kind of like during the process of making that and then also after it?
I think by that time I was experienced enough in the game and journalism to realize that you're going to have people saying, you've got to include this hole. Why didn't you include that hole?
Yeah.
And I kind of decided then, if you're happy with your 50, if you think the 50 holes that you pick work, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, just go for it. Yeah.
Just go for it. It really doesn't matter what other people think, because, you know, I mean, no two people, no two lives, no two golfers are exactly the same. You haven't played the same course that I've played.
Right.
You haven't seen what I've seen. I haven't seen what you've seen. You know, you're going to have courses that you love that are really special to you and that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And so I thought there's you know, it boils down to trying to please everybody. You can't do it.
No.
It's a fool's errand. So just go with the 50 that you think work best, and see how it lands. You know, I should go back. That book that I just referred to there was actually 10 years ago. The one that I'm going to send you is because that one was called The Story of Golf in 50 Holes. I thought that's a good title that could work on different areas of the game. So I don't know why it took so long, but about 3 years ago I started thinking about the story of golf in 50 tournaments.
Ooh, I like it.
And pitched that to a publisher in Chicago, and he went for it. So we did that. That, you know, so that's like the first ever Open Championship, the first ever Masters, the first ever US Open, and 50 tournaments that, again, I thought
like,
were
like change the game a little bit. Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. I don't want to I have some thoughts. I mean,
everyone has thoughts. And
I know, right?
I knew that everyone would have thoughts.
It's like, it's really cool to think about, but I mean, I would wonder, and this was just happened to be on Golf Channel the other day. They were showing the Tom Watson tournament. I can't. Where did he play the Open Championship when he almost won it? I was a lot younger, so like I think I might have been.
He won 5. So
no, the one he didn't win.
Turnberry, 2009.
Yeah, and Stewart Sink. I would have to say if Watson pulled that off, that may have been one of the greatest in the history.
Greatest.
Maybe the greatest.
No doubt, the greatest.
And it's such a shame because they were playing it the other day, and I remember like he hit a very good shot into that 18th hole. It just carried. Into like it hit the green and it just rolled right past. And then I mean, there's just kind of like there's a drop off at the back of the green. And I think like in any other situation, he would have been happy with that shot 9 times out of 10. But to get up and down for the Open Championship is a little bit different.
If you think about it, he hit I think it was an 8-iron, was it? I can't remember the yardage, but he hit an 8-iron, I think, and it was probably the right club. But we don't know. At its apex, it might have caught a gust of wind.
Anything could have happened.
Sent it 2, 4, 5, 8, whatever yards further than he thought it would.
Yeah.
And once it pitched on the green, it pitched hard, and had it pitched a foot to the right, it might have pitched on a slightly softer part.
Yeah, right.
And not gone as far. And we'd be talking about the greatest.
The greatest. Maybe I don't even know how you would top that one. Like seriously, I mean, I don't know the history of the game all the way back to what it was, but if you really thought about that moment and where he was, yeah, I mean, you think about like Tiger's first win at Augusta. I mean, those all have changed, but that one right there would have been, oof.
Whenever someone says, what's the greatest tournament of all time, you've got dozens of alternatives. You could name so many, but I think on this occasion, I'm really comfortable saying, had that happened, that would have been the greatest. That would have absolutely been the greatest.
Yeah. I think you're onto something with this too. Like you should probably start like a podcast and like just start going and having like debates about all these things as they come out. Like it would be super cool to kind of like have roundtables with people and get them together to say, hey, even if you can find some folks who are involved in some of those tournaments and just be like, hey, this is the list. Like, let's see if we can get this thing, hammered out, or if you agree, disagree. There's just so many different opinions that people will have on it. Because I think like I'm 41 and I think about Tiger's rise, right? Like all of those tournaments were so basically got me into the game of golf. But then you think about like Jack, like I didn't see really any of Jack. Like I was born in 84. So by the time like I started to really follow golf, like he was kind of already gone. And like he was an old man swinging a club. And like that's what I know about Jack. And that's why it's so hard.
The greatest Masters, which would be second.
Yes.
You would have been 2. So
yes, I would have been 2 years old. I mean, my dad still talks about it to this day of like what it was like to watch that and kind of know where Jack was in his past his prime, but also like still kind of hanging around, and then all of a sudden just comes out of nowhere to win Augusta. And I think he held off some pretty formidable people in that tournament as well too.
Oh, but that's one of the tournaments, and obviously in the book, because that is absolutely one of the greatest ever. And the leaderboard. Have a look at the leaderboard. But if you can watch that on YouTube, the final day's play, it doesn't matter how many times you watch it.
It'll just get you.
It's still incredible, and it's like watching a movie 100 times. You know the commentary. Every word, what the commentators say, and when, and the tone of their voice, and you know everything that happens. And it was. I remember watching it. I was what was I, 14 or 15, 14, I think. And I was on a geography school field trip. It was like a week-long event, and the only TV we had was probably as big as my computer screen here, black and white. And being in England, it was midnight, maybe later, and there's probably 15 of us in this dormitory huddled around this tiny black and white TV, watching. Black and white TVs, you couldn't really get the
like the full look of
the
it,
whole Augusta National thing, but
yeah.
But we'd seen it in pictures, so I had some idea. Obviously I was just obsessed with the place and the tournament, as a kid. But here we were, the 15 of us or so, of which maybe 3 of us may have held a golf club at some point in our life, and the other people had no idea about the sport. But because this was Jack Nicklaus, who they probably had heard of,
sure,
about to win the Masters, which was a tournament that even then kids would have heard of. It was gripping, and I remember one of our teachers, who was obviously sitting in his room next door, heard us clapping or cheering or whatever when Nicholas hold another putt, or Seve hold another putt, or heard the groan when he went in the water at 15. He opened the door to to ask what was going on and ask us to be quiet. And
you're like, no, I'm not.
No, and he didn't come in and watch with us, but it was obvious that he was watching it where he was in his room as well.
He's like, what about, I should probably go watch that. Yeah, no, that's I mean, that there's really nothing like sport that brings people together. And I mean, I think about the way that you kind of felt those things. Like, I grew up here in Boston, and you'd already mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, like, what a great sports town to grow up in. And like your memories of that golf tournament are very much like my memories of watching the Patriots or watching the Red Sox win the World Series. So like, I grew up on sports like that. And then I always played golf, and I played a high school golf, and I ended up covering this sport. But here in the States, like, it was when you have like your sports region, those were the things that I remember. But I remember where I was for every single championship. I remember where I was for every time that when the tuck rule happened and Tom Brady dropped the ball and fumbled, but everyone it wasn't a fumble. So those are like the things that I'll always have for the rest of my life. And it's so cool when you can kind of go back and replay these tournaments for people, and they can have the same feelings that you did as you were recalling exactly where you were. So I'm guessing that is exactly what you hope happens when people are reading reading your new book, which when does it get published and when is it coming out?
It's out. It's been out for about a month, I think.
Excellent. Congratulations.
And I think it is on Amazon now.
Excellent.
The publisher is called Backline Press, which is a small publisher in Chicago.
Yep.
But about 3 years ago, when I had the idea, I thought 50 Story of Golf and 50 holes, I could expand that into Story of Golf and 50 tournaments, and other things, 50 Story of Golf and 50 shots, 50 clubhouses, 50 whatever. That was the first company I thought of, because it was very young. It had only been going 2 or 3 years maybe, but I could tell from the books that it had published that we were, me and the publisher, a guy called Dem Sitar, we were think similarly about golf. We were golf obsessive. Sorry, and I just thought, this is who I want to write for and with.
That's great. That's great. It's always good to have a good partner.
It was really cool.
So I mean, so like getting to level par. I mean, I think I found a good partner in Briley and Baxter Publications. So my story was like, I actually grew up with the girl who started the woman. Now we were kids, whatever is better. But I grew up with the woman who started Briley and Baxter Publications. And I mentioned that I wrote this book. I don't know what it is. I don't really know how to go about this process, but I didn't want to go down like the literary agent route because like I was kind of funding this thing myself, and I knew that was a process that would take a very long time to, see if I can get into the Big Five or Big Six or whatever it is. And she said, no, let's read it. Let's see if my team will take it on. And they took it on. And it's been great just to have somebody kind of back it instead of just me like self-publishing.
Sure.
I think it adds a little bit of, and that's a little bit of like credibility to the story. I mean, I think I had a little bit of credibility as a sports writer as well too. So it was just kind of a nice a nice way to work with somebody who had been through publishing about 15, 16 books. And I know that she sent out a massive list to a bunch of people, and you were one of the ones that said that you'd like to read it. So I'd love to get your early take on how you came across the book, but also what did you start seeing, feeling as you were reading it as well too.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, Tom. We've gotten back to that question you asked.
Yeah.
So here we are. I received an email from, sorry, what's her name?
Stacy Padula. Yeah.
Stacy. Just outlining the book, and I said, of course I'll read it. I'll read anything,
Sure.
to do with golf. I'll absolutely read it. And she sent it, and I read it. I think I said in the review, you just get through it in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Partly because it's short.
Yep.
But partly because you just want to know what happens. You're involved, and I wouldn't say that I could see myself in Jake Stedman. I couldn't, because I never quite reached his standard. I think I played in a local qualifier for the qualifier for the qualifier for the qualifier for the Open Championship in I can't remember. So I had a smidgen of knowledge of what Jake Stedman was doing. It kind of resonated.
Yeah.
So I was just for 2 days I was engrossed. I just wanted to know where it finished, how it finished.
At the end of the day, like I want people to kind of feel the way that they do about the character, and just be along on the journey, right? And I think that that's the biggest thing, is to really either resonate with his story, resonate with the struggles that he's gone through, or just truly have a positive or whatever feeling you do have from it. Maybe you take something from it. I think my publisher said it best when she was like, I hope somebody looks at something that they used to do in life, and maybe they, maybe they had kids and they just couldn't get away, and they got away from stuff that made them happy. Not to say kids won't make you happy, but maybe they just stopped doing something because they fell out of love with it. And a lot of why I wrote that book is because I fell out of love with golf for a very long time, and I was always around it as a reporter and as a writer. But the playing of it, I lost a lot of passion for it. So a lot of Jake's story is my story in a lot of ways, minus the level of golf that he got to play at. Right. So
I did wonder, how biographical it was.
Yeah. I would say it's a fictionalized version of my life, but I mean, I can go out and break 80, right? I at one point I was a 6 or 7 index when I was playing golf in Florida. But never to the point where it's I'm going to go take a shot at US Open qualifying or mid-am qualifying or anything like that. So, but then for a while I got the yips and I quit, and I didn't play for almost about 10 years. And in COVID, I started getting my love of the game back, because there was nothing else to do. And so the original idea when I started thinking about this book was that COVID was going to be the thing that got Jake into this path. And then I'm like, I don't want to write about COVID anymore. Nobody wants to read a book about that part of life. So I used a lot of my so everybody in the book is based off of a story that has happened in my life. So Jonesy, I've had 2 friends die in a car accident, and then I had 2 of my very close friends have near-death experiences. and I've seen them kind of like come back to life. The story of Jake's dad and him is, it's similar to what I've experienced in my life as well too. And then the golf coach is actually legitimately my golf coach, and his name is Tom. And he's an older guy. He's in the New England PGA Hall of Fame as an instructor here in Massachusetts. He's been doing it for 40 plus years. And I started working with him 3 years ago, and I'm like, listen, I need help, and I just want to like enjoy this game again. And he brought so much joy back to me playing golf, and to the point where it's like, I'm not mad if I go out and shoot high 80s. I'm having a great time. And like next time I'm going to go out and I'm going to try shoot 78, 79 and get after it. So it's just, I think I healed myself a lot during this journey of writing the book, but now it's like, now I'm just having a lot of fun, talking about it and getting it out to people. And, it means a lot that it appeared in Links magazine. Like I never thought that I would appear next to those writers who had been publishing some really, really interesting books. And I actually shot Tom Coyne a message on Instagram, and I sent them a copy of my book. So it's like, it's so cool where this could potentially go and where it might take me. And I just want this book in as many hands as I possibly can get. Sure. And especially and it doesn't have to be a person who knows anything about golf either. I think as you read it, it could have just been a perfect a movie about a person and not a golfer.
Well, I'll tell you something that I really, really did enjoy, and this took me probably a few hours after having finished it to realize, with a book like this, with the sort of things that are happening, you're always thinking ahead, how is this going to finish? Is he going to hold it? Is it just going to be a disaster? I mean, is this going to be great or good? You can't help not think that, that's inevitable. And what I really liked about it was, as you near the end, it becomes clear to him that he recognized the fact that this part isn't the be all and end all of life. He's got, thanks to Jonesy and thanks to Bree, he's he's got to a point in his life where, and this I think speaks to golf and how each individual deals with it. Deals is probably the wrong word, but I've always thought, or I haven't always thought, I certainly didn't think this, when I was younger, but I think now that if you can enjoy golf, regardless of what happens, regardless of what you shoot, you've really got the game sussed.
Yeah, you've won. Like you're never gonna win this game, but you're gonna win at being able to enjoy the journey of it. Like think about where it's taken you, right? Like think about like where you were as a young man, kind of going around the globe. And like I've played the old course. I've played I played Sawgrass. I played the ocean course here in Carolina. I've seen some. I got a chance to play the country club here in Brookline when the U.S. Amateur was here when Matt Fitzpatrick won it. I was a reporter and I got a chance to play, but it was so cool. I didn't have a true appreciation for it because it was during the time where I really wasn't playing golf. And so like I was struggling so much with my game and so much wanting to be there that I missed an opportunity to just smell the roses. Be like, look at where you're
playing.
For him
to come back and win the US Open at the same course is
it's pretty interesting.
Not quite Tom Watson 2009 territory, but it was pretty cool.
Oh, it was very special because like if you really think about it, not a lot of people have seen the course because of the exclusivity of it around here. Like there's not I don't know what their like practice rounds were, whether they was available to players or if it was available to past champions. Like you think about Rory going out to Augusta every weekend and like getting and prepping for the tournament. You couldn't do that at the country club. It's just like it wasn't available. So like he used that course knowledge. And I remember watching him for multiple days because the format of the amateur, you're playing a lot of golf, and he got a chance to really see a lot of the nooks and crannies of that place. Sure. And it was I remember the story. I remember following him around when he had like mismatched clothes on. He had like Under Armour and like Adidas. Like he wasn't like the usual kid who you see come up who is, all decked out, obviously has been to like an academy and done this and that. He was just a kid from United Kingdom coming over and winning. And it was really cool to see. So I got a chance to cover that one. So I think about all the writing that I've done, and when the Deutsche Bank used to come into Boston, I covered Tiger, and I walked 18 holes inside the ropes with him. And that's still one of the coolest experiences that I ever had. And getting to ask questions to him during a press conference. I had visions and I had dreams of covering golf without even like really loving it anymore. And now if I could like go back and like, how do I now take my love of it that I truly have? And this book has brought it to me so much. And whether it's through video storytelling or podcasting or, maybe another book, I don't know. I want to be part of this story. And I think it's really cool that I now have a book that says that I wrote a golf book. And the fact that it was also on a list on Links Magazine, like, is really special to me in so many ways. So I don't know how many writers get a chance to like thank you for at least including me and giving me an opportunity, but it means a lot as somebody who is also a fellow writer, also a former journalist. Like, we know the struggle and we know what it's like to put our heart and soul into the words that we put on paper.
It's when we decide that we're going to do this article, and I start to collect ideas or start to collect the books, obviously there's I have to include books by Tom Layman or Alan Chipnup, because if you didn't, it's not a very credible list.
Yeah,
I really like to include a book, that someone's not going to have heard the author, not going to be familiar with the author. Then it's going to be a total surprise. And if they buy it and if they read it, they'll think, well, I'm really glad that he wrote about that. That's just as cool to me as writing about Coyne or Shipnuck.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there are parallels between our stories, but there's some differences too. And so I can sort of have I get an idea of the sort of work and passion that has gone into this. It's been a long time coming, and it's it's taken a lot of, I'm sure, sleepless nights and worrying and just not being sure about what to do.
Yeah.
How the industry works. So I think to actually get to this point is really cool.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. To me, like, the journey is been pretty awesome to be a part of. And, I think about, where it could potentially go. Like, I don't really know. And I don't know if and I think what I was thinking as you were talking, like, there have been so many books that have come down to the final putt, or like, stories or fiction stories that have come down to this or that. There's probably even ones that like have similar finishes to mine. But what I wanted to do was create a narrative that was like truncated, where it's like you only get one hole of his life, but you get his whole life in that hole.
Yeah.
And I mean, there could be other stories that have finished like similar to how I did it, but like I think there's a pretty uniqueness to the way that I developed this character and developed a very unique angle around this game, but also just around a human being. And that was really what I wanted to kind of bring out. So like I every time I pitch it to people, they're like, "What's the book about?" I'm like, "It's a book about being human." Like, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And golf is the vehicle. And if you can resonate with it in some way, whether you're a golfer, whether you know what it's like to being a member guest and you got 100 yards and there's 40 people looking at you and all eyes are on you, or you're a junior golfer who is like trying to close out a tournament, or you're a college golfer in the NCAAs. Like, there's just so many different potentials and different avenues that people can kind of look at that and say, you know, even think about like a basketball player who's on the free throw line with a chance to ice the game. Like your brain is just going, and like, how do you just stop, slow down, stick to your principles, and trust that you're going to be able to get the job done? And I hope that's what Jake Stedman's story is kind of all about.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, exactly as you say, you know, no one's story is going to be exactly the same as Jake Stedman's, but there's going to be so many people that, you know, that draw parallels with where they've been and what they've done, and Jake. And you know, for them to be able to read that, you know, he got in that position after having had the upbringing that he had is how that isn't inspiring. I can't see how that's not inspiring. I think that is absolutely is going to get a lot of people geared up to try, you know, go and try their best, do something that they didn't think they were capable of doing.
Excellent. I think that's an awesome place to kind of wrap up. Just so readers, I mean, so listeners can understand, what's the name of your book coming out, and where can people find it if you have like that information?
It's called Story of Golf in 50 Tournaments. It's published by Back9 Press. They can find it on back9press.com or at Amazon.
Excellent. Sounds good. Well, Tony, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I hope we do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.